there. I'm Amy Connell. Welcome to Graced Health, the podcast for women who want simple and grace-filled ways of taking care of themselves. I'm a certified personal trainer and nutrition coach who wants you to know your eating, movement, and body don't have to be perfect. You just need to be able to do what you're called to do. Today, I am speaking with the three co-authors of the book, Total Body Beautiful. This book provides women age 35 and older with practical, research-backed advice for physical, mental, and emotional health. This book, Total Body Beautiful, just provides wonderful advice on staying healthy throughout the aging process, along with strength and mind-body exercises and workouts that will help women understand how to feel their best at any age. It is a holistic reference for all women trying to holistically take care of themselves. And the authors too are kind of in the same stage of life that we are. So they understand, they get it, they've lived it, and they are here to help you create your best version of health and really figure out what that is for you. Now, this interview is with all three authors, like I said, Andrea Orbeck, who goes by Andy in the interview, Desi Bartlett, and Nicole Stuart. Combined, these three women have decades of experience and dozens of fitness certifications and credentials. They have also worked with hundreds of celebrities, supermodels, and ordinary women like you and me to develop workout and wellness solutions to stay active and feel good in their own skin, including Julia Roberts, Kimora Lee Simmons, Heidi Klum, Kate Hudson. Kate actually wrote the foreword, Emma Roberts, Anna Faris, and more. They are excited to bring their expertise to women everywhere through their book and share a renewed outlook on what it means to be fit. And you'll have to laugh because at one point someone said, I don't know why we didn't do this 10 years ago. So I get that. Boy, I tell you what, even if you are not a 35 or older woman, this is applicable to you and you will be ahead of the game as you age. I think you will appreciate their holistic approach to taking care of themselves. The book just has a ton of resources. So it has poses in there like yoga poses, Pilates, and strength training workouts. There's education about hormones, life stages. There's client stories in there. So get your copy. The link is in the show notes, and it will complement your own unique needs and desires in your health. Okay, let's bring them on. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad you're here. Now, full disclosure, I've never done an interview with three other people, so this is a learning process for me, but I am glad you're here. I wanted to first start off, if you guys could go through individually so those listening through the podcast can hear a voice with a name. And then, of course, if you are watching on YouTube, you can see that as well. But if you don't mind going through, tell us a little bit about what you do as fitness professionals beyond that introduction and your name, and then also just where you're coming in from today.
Hi, I'll go first if I may. Pardon me. Amy, that was such a nice introduction. I feel like you've done half the work, but for the purposes of who we are individually, I am Andrea Orbeck. My nickname is Andy. That's where my friends and clients go by. For me, I have a background in kinesiology. I have some subspecialties in pre-peri and post-pregnancy, as well as modalities like myofascial release and massage therapy. So my passion really for women is just kind of like the holistic approach with respect to fitness through resistance training and cardiovascular endurance, and then the wellness posts such as, flexibility and myofascial work. So I'm happy to be here. Hello.
Fantastic. I love it. I love it.
And I'm Nicole. I'm Nicole Stuart. I'm in Los Angeles and I'm Pilates based. I was trained by Murray Windsor back in the 90s, and I've done Pilates for years, and I fell in love with exercise and originally was hoping I could just maybe take some free Pilates classes from a friend who recommended me to the studio. And then they were hiring, and then I was relentless about getting a job training Pilates because I thought it would make me a healthier person. And it did.
That's great.
Hi, I'm Desi Bartlett and aloha from Oahu. I live in a little tiny town called Kailua near the beach, and I'm so happy here with my family. I'm originally from Chicago. I have my degree in kinesiology, my master's degree in corporate fitness. After 25 years of being out of school, I'm actually back in school working on my doctoral degree in exercise phys. I have a lot of certifications, personal training, yoga, prenatal yoga, you name it. I'm also a certification provider through Yoga Alliance and CCPT. Just did some work with NASM. But more than anything, I just really love to support women through all of the different transitions of life, whether it's pregnancy, new motherhood, perimenopause, or the change of life.
Oh, and what a fun change it is. A lot of my
Yes.
community is right smack in the middle of that. And just a few comments on each of your stuff. I mean, Andy, the myofascial release, I tell you what, we had Sue Hitzman on here a couple weeks ago and or a month by the time this comes in, and just learning about that. My community has loved that. I love your holistic approach. Nicole, I will admit to joining a gym and teaching there simply for the free childcare. So that was what was really that I really wanted to do. And of course, I have fallen in love with it. Since then, I started off doing teaching group fit classes. And Desi, it's funny. I have been just kind of playing around in the back of my mind. I'm like, I kind of wouldn't mind getting some post-grad degree and work. So I love that you are doing that and investing your time in that. Well, you guys obviously come to us with just decades and decades and lots of letters after your name. So I'm really excited to learn from you today. Your book, Total Body Beautiful, is just fantastic. It is so holistic. It is, it covers a lot. It's not just a workout book. It's not just fitness, right? It's all of this stuff. And so I really highly recommend it. One of the things that I could really pull from that is just your passion for helping women. And you guys kind of talked about that a little bit, but this is not just like I do what I do and buy my stuff and then go on with it. I can tell that you really want women to feel empowered and educated through the message of this book. So I'm just curious if each of you don't mind sharing where your passion came from, because I think we all have our own stories. And when we understand the stories behind what we do, sometimes we feel an even greater connection. So Andy, we'll just go in the same thing, the same round table that we went the last time.
Sure. I would say that my passion is bias, which may be the case for most people because I am a woman. And then I also draw from my experiences phase after phase, decade after decade. And so I think that, gathering from those things coupled with, the blessings of opportunities for education, you get to be able to aggregate those things together. And so I had a baby late. I've been an athlete my whole life. And then I'm starting to actually experience later phase life experiences like, pre-hormonal changes. And so with those things coupled with the education that we have, the three of us have been able to scaffold together and understand how that applies to women reflective of our own experiences in our lives. And so I would say that a passion selfishly for me stems from how it affects me and then how I'm able to capture and understand and translate it. And then I can project it out for people not only to take the information that we know, but also the experience that we have. So I think it's effective. And so I just, I think that it's kind of selfish and greedy for me, to have the passion originate with myself, but what better template than us, the people that know how to apply it. So that's kind of where it came from for me.
I completely resonate with that. And I think a lot of my own personal education has come from the same thing. I'm like, this is something I'm dealing with and I can't be the only one. And so then you learn and then you want to pass it on. So I really love that. Yeah. Yeah. Nicole.
I would have to say the same thing with myself. Selfishly, it came from myself, and always loving dance and exercise. And I grew up in Las Vegas. And so when I came to Los Angeles, I was pretty lost and didn't really know what I was going to do, how I was going to support myself. I dropped out of college to move here to become an actress and was struggling, and then I always like to say Pilates saved my life along with exercise and diet. So coming from a sort of really dysfunctional, traumatic upbringing, coming here to Los Angeles and then using my dance background to learn how to take Pilates and then eventually learn how to teach it really made me a better person. So I just like sharing that message to other girls who might be going through something, to let them know they're not alone and that you can figure a way out. There's always a way out. You just have to just start putting your feelers out there, and it just takes the first step. And once you do the first step, then the next and the next. So I just want to help other women, girls know that they can change their lives for the better.
Yeah, that's great. And I like how you said that this was kind of a tool that you used in dealing with traumatic experiences, because that can be super helpful. And as we know, movement, I mean, there's a lot of different things out there, right? I mean, not the least of which is therapy, but, but having, having those endorphins, having the confidence that you can get from moving your body. I mean, that can be a tool, a really effective tool when dealing with that. So I'm sorry that you had to experience that, but wow, what a way that you've been able to bless other people through that. And, all of, what has come out of that.
Exactly.
Desi, how about you?
Well, kind of echoing what each of you has shared thus far, I really fell in love with women's fitness specifically when I was pregnant the first time. I had my first baby at 37. So they call that, a geriatric pregnancy, and made me feel anxious. And when I went to different classes, group fitness classes or yoga classes, I found that I felt like Goldilocks. Like, this one is too hard. This one is too easy. This one, they don't say the word baby. I just couldn't find the right fit. So I realized, I have a few degrees and some certifications. I can do this myself. And so I threw myself into the process of like, how can I really truly help women and children to feel great from the inside out throughout pregnancy and beyond.
Love it. Yes, absolutely. So you talk about feeling great from the inside out. And this is a question I'll just pose to all of you, and then you guys can answer. But, I think that that's such an important mindset for us to have, because often those of us who are in this age group have grown up with, here's something for you to look like and strive for, and this is the quote unquote ideal body, perfect body, and we're not paying attention to the inside. We're not paying attention to the whole, holistic, the emotional health, the mental health, and all of that. So I'm interested to hear you guys talk a little bit about feeling good in your own skin, feeling good from the inside out, and what that means for you. Because for me, that might mean something totally different. So I'm curious to hear how you all might define feeling good from the inside out.
Well, for me, it has a lot to do with what is revealed in a blood test, what your cholesterol looks like, what all your lipids look like. It has to do with the energy that you are able to wake up feeling recovered, depending on the type of lifestyle you lead and the bad and good habits that you execute. And then I also think that quality of life really is going to, be a barometer of how you feel inside, and then aesthetically outside. Those are agreements that you can make just between you and the mirror, which really have nothing to do with the quality of your life and the longevity of your life. And myself, just like all three of us, coincidentally, have had late pregnancies in our lives. And so the commitment and investment for me before my daughter was born was kind of for me, excuse me, and being in the industry and all of us living in Los Angeles, you make certain subscriptions that you have with your life about how you should appear and the clients that you work, and we're all vicariously credible, and famous through them. And so that's one variable. But then after you have children, for me personally, I started to think about me being, a decade older than all the other moms around me on the playground, and realized by the time my daughter Pearl is 16 or 20 or 30, I need to really be aware of who I'm going to be in this world as an example to her as an older woman, but then also to be able to stick around and enjoy the quality of life that I want to have with her. And so it takes on different meanings. And I'm just hoping that women, as they come away from this book, will, see the things that we've had to learn and see them early as an investment, because the way I feel about the insides of myself in a wellness perspective, I wish I was able to do years ago. But, it's the circumstance and experience we'll hopefully give to our women reading this book. But for me, that's it. It's to be around for a long time and to feel good doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah, go on.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. For me, from the inside out is all about the mental health. And originally, I just always wanted to do Pilates, and I thought, oh, it'd be so great, because I've always sort of struggled with my weight up and down, as in my 20s. And a lot of that had to do with depression. So, but what I learned was I had to get healthy in my mind first, and then all of those other changes came. It really wasn't about the appearance on the exterior. It was really all about what was going on the interior of myself, and actually opening that up and dealing with that. And I really believe that Pilates, it is springs and wood, but I also think it's highly emotional, and it has a lot of triggers, as yoga does. The first time I did hundreds, and I wrote about it in the book, I started crying because I think I was holding so much emotion in my center. So when I actually did that breath of the inhale for 5 counts and the exhale for 5 counts, I think I just let go of 20 years of emotional tension.
I'm sure. Yeah.
So that's what it is for me.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting is the science that is coming out, that we're starting to learn more, is the profound effect that our mental health has on our body, and how that manifests in so many different ways, between our gut health and between even our body holding on to excess adipose, and so many different things. So I love that you're really pinning that in with the mental health, because that does, you can't just, I used to think, okay, we're just going to separate the mind and the body. And what I'm learning is that is not how our bodies were made. And it's so important to pay attention to all of that. Yeah. Yeah. Desi, what about you?
So the way that the book was laid out is in different chapters, and some of them were written by me, others by Andy, others by Nicole. And I'm smiling because the answers really correspond to the chapters that we wrote. So Andy wrote extensively about hormones and blood tests and making sure, what's happening on a cellular level. Nicole wrote about mental health and so beautifully shared her own experiences. I wrote about emotional health. And so the first answer that came to mind when you were talking about feeling good from the inside out, and what does that look like, is how do you feel? Any trainer worth their salt can help you lose 5 pounds, but are you happy? Are you happy in your own body? Can you walk by the mirror and maybe say something nice? And instead of looking down and saying, why do you look this way, to your abdomen? How about hey, thank you so much for being a sanctuary for my child and for expanding and making space for the life of my baby. So I'm really into, how do you feel?
Yeah. Being kind to yourself. And I love that, when you talk about walking by the mirror, sometimes you have to say something nice, even if you don't feel like it. Just saying something nice, and that will help retrain the brain, and that helps create those neural pathways. But you're right. Those are things that we have to be intentional about with that. And so I love that you guys have all hit on all 3 of those. I am so I think we were talking before we got on. I've been in the fitness industry almost 20 years. And I totally resonate with what you were talking about, Desi, with, working with women is so much more than just getting a physique, right? It's helping them feel good. It's a lot more than a specific workout. It's more than, how big are your biceps or how many, your abs or anything like that. And so I love how Total Body Beautiful really does focus on the emotional health as well, on the mental health as well. So talk to us some about how you incorporate all of these elements into a holistic health program, because we can go to our therapist, we can say nice things to us, we can work out, but then walk us through putting all three of those things together.
For me, I would answer by taking inventory in your life and finding the gaps that are missing. No archetype is the same. No person is the same. No woman is the same. And so I think it's a matter of looking to see, like Desi had said, taking stock of how you feel and then govern and determine what you need by being open to finding answers to fulfill the questions you maybe don't know you have based on how you feel in your life. For me, I've been an athlete my whole life. Being lean and strong has never, ever been my problem. But I'm the person that 2 years ago, my doctor told me I needed a total hip replacement, and I wasn't even 50 years old yet. So therefore, resting on the laurels of the things I just mentioned did nothing for me because I could no longer even walk around with a 5-year-old child, which really scared me and felt very bad. And so because I needed to slow down and get a little bit more modalities in my life that I didn't practice before, i.e., a glute series that Nicole would be able to provide for me and a range of motion routine that I could look to Desi for, were things that I had kind of neglected. It wasn't the reason why I needed the hip surgery, but moving forward from now on, the rest of my life, if I want it to have quality and strength and longevity, I'm going to need to, look at those things. And if I hadn't had the surgery, I might not have done that. But there, it's a ticking clock in your life where things and neglect will show up. And so for me, that was an example. But, needing surgery, I feel like we need to look at our lives and kind of really start to say, like, what is missing and what is out there for me, and putting on your own, being your own advocate, really. And then once you find it, applying it to see that if it works, like a science experiment, and then watching and waiting to see the outcome. And if it's favorable, then on your right track. And if not, then you have to keep looking. And that would be my advice, continually for myself and others, reading the book or, in session.
No, I think that's fantastic. Yeah, taking inventory. And I think that's one thing that's really nice about this book is it gives you a lot of things to consider. So it might be, I love you talk about range of motion. There's so many different things. And sometimes we just don't even realize that we might need to add something or switch it up or experiment with something. So yeah, I totally get that. I want to move into this whole concept. Andy, I think you were talking about at the change. A lot of my community is in this perimenopause, menopause state. And I'm wondering what kind, there are so many different pieces of literature out there. There are books. There's a lot of different ways of handling it. So with that being said, I'm wondering what kind of changes you might recommend to women as they are kind of moving into this menopause and really even postmenopausal phase, just from the workouts, but also because that's kind of what I really love to talk about, but also just even from a mental or emotional health as well.
Right. Quickly, what I would say is that we need to understand what the hormones are. And it's very easy. I'm so proud that our book really addresses those things in response to what are hormones, what are they, how do they change over time, and then how do they relate to me holistically with respect to my mental health and with my energy and with my strength and with my ability to, hypertrophy, continue to grow muscle. And so it's knowing what they are and not having to become an endocrinologist, but just understanding the basics of what are the hormones within you and what changes, and then maybe having the wherewithal to ask and have a conversation with a physician to help you understand what your blood levels are, and when you get a full panel of your hormones, to help you interpret the data that you get, and then from there doing something about it. However that conversation is, it's still an experiment. because we can know that our testosterone and our estrogen and our progesterone and our T3, T4, all of our thyroid panels change. However, there might be an endocrinologist who differs with an OBG. There are, all kinds of therapies that you can do. And then if that isn't something within a wheelhouse of a person, exercise really does help offset some of the, experiences with respect to hot flashes and mental health, and then those are the things where you can experiment and step back and see how it affects you. And so that's the encouragement that I would give to women, is to just kind of understand this new language that your body is telling you it's in, and then the language you should be having with the outside world about how to interpret it and what to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. Desi, I see you nodding a lot over there.
Because I'm, excuse me, I am such a science nerd, and that's what I'm writing a paper on this week. Specifically, I'm starting to dig into my doctoral thesis, which is all about, can yoga help mitigate menopausal symptoms?
Cool.
And so Andy touched on hot flashes, and that's usually the first in a cascade of symptoms, meaning that, let's say a woman has a hot flash at 2 a.m. Now she has a sleep disturbance. Now perhaps she can't get back to sleep. Okay, finally she gets back to sleep. Maybe it happens again throughout the night. She wakes up in the morning. Now her nutrition is completely thrown off. Now perhaps she gains a little bit of weight over time because she's reaching for sugar and things to help lift her up. Now there's psychosocial elements to it, because perhaps her self-esteem is down a little bit, or perhaps there's mood fluctuations because of the disturbance in her sleep. So it's all this cycle. So what can we do? We can go back to the very first symptom, which was the hot flash. And Andy speaks really, really beautifully on our Instagram account. She did a video about cortisol. If you're stressed out and your cortisol is through the roof, and we give you a HIIT workout, we're doing a disservice. And now we're going to send you into more stress. Your body's going to hold on to that fat. We're probably going to intensify your symptoms. Yikes. So we need to know what we're talking about. We need to go back to what Andy referred to, asking ourselves the questions, having a little bit of self-study. Where am I starting from? And then once you know where you're starting from, then you can build the program. And then you can find something that serves your body, your mind, and your heart in such a way that you're helping to mitigate the symptoms, and you're helping yourself to show up with joy and not just like, oh, here I am.
I am so glad you talked about that with the cortisol and the, a HIIT workout. If you are super stressed, your favorite HIIT workout is not what you need to do that day. It may be another day, but not necessarily, that day for sure. Nicole, do you have any other thoughts to add on to that?
I mean, I'm trailing off of these two. Hormones is not my specialty, but I speak from my own experience as well. I'm in that phase myself, and my symptoms have been really mild. And other women are like, well, has it been horrible? Has it been, and I hate to say, but it's been super not bad. But I also think it's because of the life that I lead. I do the walk that I talk, healthy, my green juice every day. If I don't do a workout, I'm always walking 1.5 miles or, trying to stay active. And I think that all really helps when it comes to this time of your life, when you're going through these things. So that's the only thing I might add.
No, I think that's great. And the theme that I'm hearing from all of you is the empowerment to listen to your body, to make a change, and then listen again and see what you need and change it up. Because I think, again, this, our age group has just grown up with, circuit and HIIT and, all of these things that are fine, but may not necessarily be what we need now, or on a particular day when we're super stressed and when we've had the hot flashes at 3 a.m. or, and that cumulative effect. Desi, I love how you talk about that and just how that can impact so much more. So I want to move kind of more to one last question before we get into the final questions that I ask everybody. And that is this concept of kind of what I was just talking about. Like, so many of us grew up with just say group, I mean, we're all kind of group fitness people, so I'll just use that as an example. But every Monday through Friday, showing up at the class, really hard. It's like, how much of a bucket can I fill with my sweat? How much, like, I mean, how intense can this be? How many times can I slam my face against the wall? And talk us through the importance of the transition of maybe not doing that every single day. And some of these more I don't want to say recovery, but lower impact workouts that you offer a lot of with the yoga, with the Pilates, and just kind of, and the walking, like Nicole, you were just talking about, and how that is important to this women over 35 group that you are serving in this book.
I would say that the art of this book should frame everyone's life. And, I feel like sometimes we're doing a disservice by categorizing it only to women 35 and over, because the holistic approach that the three of us give, what's been beautiful, I'll tell a little Hollywood secret, if I may, on the side, is that all of us have had the same celebrities, and we have actually referred each other to those celebrities because all three of us in unison believe in the collaboration of every aspect of specificity. So I tell that because the legitimacy for all three modalities is so important that it kind of is the template that should complement a person, not even a woman and not even over 35, to really fulfill holistic health, the aspect of yoga, the aspect of Pilates and the core conditioning that it brings, weight training, cardiovascular, and then the other modalities we talk about regarding like, health and wellness and mental health. All of those things, I think, in unison are so important that if you were to take that at 16 years old and take that modality and all three of these modalities that work so well into later life, it's only going to benefit you to understand that you have options as your body goes through transitions. Because, a hit exercise for me might be different than someone who does hit relative to their exertion level. So when you look at it, if a hit to me is 30 seconds of intense plyometric jumping, and now that I have one hip that is inferior to the other, I have to be careful. So those things are no longer even really available to me because of the impact. And so for me, I would do jump rope, for example. And so that said, if you're altering and knowing that those things are afforded to you, you can still call it and file it under the same thing. It just can look different, accommodating the things you need. And then, like this book with it empowering you with so many options on the days that you're tired circumstantially and your hormones are shifting and you've gotten a high impact of a sleepless night. You should be doing yoga anyway, but how wonderful if you're in the art of the practice and that is your workout, coupled with some range of motion and, some of the series that you would get from Nicole, you are lacking for nothing, regardless of where you are. And that's, I mean, why didn't we write this 10 years ago, you guys? I don't know, but hallelujah that it's here today. But I mean, I guess that would be my answer, is that it's a one-stop shop that I hope affords people the technique earlier in life to have it, available.
I agree. These are timeless, and it's the marketing gurus who say that we have to pick a very specific person and write to them. That's that's probably why it's the 35 or older.
Sure.
Okay. So Nicole, what do you, I'm curious, since you have that real strong Pilates focus, talk to us a little bit along those same lines of adjusting it as, from these really hard workouts. And then also, since you have so much information on there or so much experience in Pilates, I would love for you to tell us a little bit about how Pilates specifically can help my community, which is these women, 40s, 50s, 60s, age well, feel well, function well.
Okay. I'm going to speak from my own experiences. After I had my child at 45, I did not want to work out as hard as I used to. And it took me a while to get back into my body, actually feel everything again, but I didn't push it. And I did baby steps. And what I found was I listened to my body more. And I think as we age, we have to listen to our body. And when I say that, if it's tired, don't push yourself to do that HIIT workout. and also to try something different. And especially with the Pilates and the yoga, they're great because as we get older, I mean, we stiffen up and it's crazy. I turned 50 and like my shins started hurting out of nowhere. And I'm like, oh my God, in my 20s, it was my lower back. In my 30s, it was my neck. In my 40s, it was my hip. And now my shins are like, I never had that problem before. So I've been trying to do as much yoga and down dogs as I can. And I have to say, it feels so much better on my body. And another experience I had recently was on Thanksgiving Day. I was just feeling sluggish. And I know it's because of the pace in my lifestyle and the work. And finally, when I stop, I think I just completely just crash and decompress. And I was like, oh, but then I just felt so tired. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do an 18-minute stretchy yoga thing from our book, Total Body Beautiful. And I felt like a new person when I was done, and I didn't beat myself up about it. Like, that was the only thing you did today, I embraced it. So again, I think it goes back to the mental attitude and the way you can flip the switch and how you can change that inner dialogue.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. All right, Desi, any aches and pains for you? Because I got to say that this is really comforting to me to know that that Nicole and Andy both have their own issues, because I've got my own issues that I'm trying to work through. So help me out. Sure. Make me feel a little better.
So what I experienced, especially during the closures from COVID, was more in my nervous system, and that, like a sympathetic nervous response of like fight, flight, or freeze, and how we kind of lived in that for almost 2 years. For me, that was a lot. Mm-hmm. And so I know from the practice of yoga that we can shift it and we can get you over into relax and restore. I'm also just a big fan of like laying down and working out. I think that's fantastic. So I love all of the restorative practices, not only for what they can do for me physically and, stretch and lengthen and let go of tension in terms of the muscular body or the level of the muscles, tendons, etc., but also my nervous system. Like, I can nourish my nervous system and I can chill out and I can walk into the rest of my day with my kids and my family, my clients, my friends, as like, hey, how you doing? Instead of, oh my gosh, I gotta go. I have stuff to do, So I feel powerful. Like it helps me show up in the way that I want to.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, very well said. I think that's a really great way to end. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you guys on the spot of all of your aches and pains and issues, but I think it's really helpful. And it's nice to know that everybody or most people will have something, and it's figuring out, going back to what we were talking about, assessing what you need, taking inventory. How do I need to move differently? And I think that this book has a lot of resources and a lot of really great tools to be able to implement. I wish we had more time to really dig into everything. But I know that we all have appointments coming up very shortly. So I want to end with, if everybody could offer the one simple thing that they would like people to remember. It can be small, it can be a little, a little nugget, an overarching theme, just for everybody to remember as we go throughout our day and think about this conversation.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a bumper sticker aphorism, but I really like the term, where you are is where it's at. You are an accumulation of your body and your life's experiences up until this point, and it is justifiably amazingly beautiful. And if you just stop to look around, I just think you'll know what you need on your path to continue that direction that you're in. And alternatively, any path that you want to be on, as long as you're aware and you live within your self-confidence to know, then just be at peace with knowing that is all that you need.
That's great. Nicole.
A couple of things came to mind. I know you said one. So I'm gonna go with the thought of the only person that can stop you from achieving what you want is yourself. So if you have those blocks, if you want to get out of bed in the morning, if you want to feel better mentally and physically, there are ways to do that. And you have to push through whatever's holding you back. And, you could blame it on whatever happened to you in your past. You can blame it forever on that person. But when it comes down to it, if you're not taking responsibility to get yourself healthier and better, then that it's on you at that point, And I know sometimes what has happened can be debilitating where you're frozen, but you also have to figure out and find a way to push through that to get your help.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Desi, all right, let's finish us out with you.
So I think that the body is the vessel that allows us to carry out all of our dreams. And if we can take care of our bodies, our minds, and our hearts, then we can make those dreams a reality.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, that is all for today. Go out there and have a graced day.